So in my previous Sports File podcast, I talked about certain players with the Montreal Canadiens in the early 1970s who couldn't find a permanent position or didn't get enough respect and eventually jumped to the WHA. But here we're going to talk about somebody indirectly that I figured Montreal should have given a better chance to, because Christian Bordeleau, he was a very talented player. Now, Christian Bordeleau comes from a very impressive group of brothers that the majority of them played pro hockey, the NHL, and minor pro. Christian Bordeleau wasn't the biggest player on the ice, but his skills were very impressive and led him to be a major star eventually in the WHA, winning an AVCO Cup with Quebec. Now, born in Rouyn-Noranda, Quebec, on September 23rd, 1947. At the time, he was one of the smallest players in the league at 5'8" at 152 pounds. Now, he first came to prominence as kind of a second and third line forward with the Montreal Junior Canadiens over 4 seasons. Now, his big year was 1965 when he scored 28 goals in 50 games in the Canadiens' very successful 64-65 season. Now, after graduating from Montreal's junior farm club, he went to the Houston Apollos in the Central Hockey League, and his big total was his second season with Houston, with 21 goals and 57 points in 54 games. Now, he got a call up to the big squad, scoring 4 points in 13 games, and had a big goal in the playoffs in Montreal's Stanley Cup run. Now, 69-70 was could have been a breakthrough year for Christian, but he only had 2 goals in 48 games, and Montreal were using him in spot duty, and he pretty well gave up on him. Now, he was eventually moved on to St. Louis, where he had a breakthrough career with 21 goals and 32 assists in 53 games, 53 points in 78 games. The idea was he was being used kind of as a second major forward on the power play for St. Louis. Now, after a split season with St. Louis and Chicago in 71-72, he had 14 goals and 31 assists. He eventually moved on to Winnipeg Jets of the WHA and puts up some impressive numbers in his WHA tenure. He had in 7 seasons in the WHA, ladies and gentlemen, he scored 179 goals, 325 assists for 504 points. Now, his big year was 76-77, like I said. He helped Quebec to the AVCO Cup. Now, when the merge of the Nordiques and the other WHA teams in the NHL, he couldn't find a place. He wrapped up his career with the Salt Lake Golden Eagles of the CHL, scoring 9 points in 11 games, but that was it. But I would have, should have, could have, because his NHL totals weren't, tremendous, but weren't too bad. 103 points in 205 games. So more than 200 pro goals at the level, 217 with 607 points. And some big WHA playoff totals with 16 goals and 34 assists for 50 points. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking a little bit about the some of the other players that Montreal couldn't fit in the lineup, including Bobby Sheehan, Guy Charon, and a few others. Keep an eye out. We appreciate the support of the Sports File podcast, and we'll see you on the other.